How's it going, everybody? Midweek recap. Trying to get more videos to you. So, as far as the month goes, just in general, having a really good month. Surprisingly, even though August does slow down and tends to be a little boring, I'm able to find a lot of opportunities and things have been going well. And I've made money every single day this month up until today. So, I think, losing days are going to come. You can't avoid them. Eventually a red day was going to come. I want to do a recap as far as what I noticed, some of the mistakes that I made. And even though the day most likely would have been red had I tweaked things a bit, it wouldn't have been as red. And I think that anytime you can find, some areas where you can improve a bit as far as trying to prevent the day from being as bad as it is over the period of a year, you tighten up on a lot of those days where you lost to make them a little bit less, and I think the P&L will be a lot different. So ultimately, that's just what I'm doing here, just trying to get better. So I'll go over that and just basically, going a little bit more in depth on my style. I do follow Oliver Velez heavily, and I strongly believe that outside of having your bread and butter, like I really like trading gaps. Typically earnings plays that gap up on good news or gap down on bad news, and then just trying to factor in sentiment and whatnot. But when gaps aren't setting up, I do have a select handful of stocks that I like to trade regularly. Those stocks being Netflix, Baba, Facebook, Apple, not as much, but still in that category, and Nvidia being my favorite. So some of those bigger names that I can trade regularly. I look at the 2-minute chart, and I try to look at the 20 period moving average, the 200 period moving average, yesterday's close, and yesterday's price congestion to be able to determine, direction in the morning and whether or not there's going to be follow through. So just as far as example on Baba, I ended up taking a trade on Baba, or just to go over the numbers real quick. I lost 362 bucks. Not terrible, a little bit bigger than it should have been, but I made 255 Monday. And then I made 1,200 yesterday because I took DKS short and I went in heavy because it was an A+ setup for what I like. Daily looks like crap. It's in the retail sector, which is getting no love, and it gapped down on bad news. So I went in big and I ended up making 1,200 bucks. So overall in the week so far, I'm up, call it right around $1,100. So, overall the week is going okay. But I took 2 trades today. I took Baba short and I took Netflix short. Now, as far as short-term direction, this gapped up above those 4 things, right? So yesterday's price congestion, previous day close, the 20 period moving average and the 200 period moving average. So it's bullish in the open, in the morning. So ultimately, I'm just trying to find out, is there going to be follow through? And these are 2-minute candles. I like trading the 2-minute chart just because I have tried to trade the one and I get a little chopped up sometimes, so I'm trying to stick to home base, which is just trading this too. So very first candle, not necessarily a big green candle, right? So has a push and then totally fails to move higher. So in my opinion, this shows that it had no follow through. Now, when I short a stock on a gap up, I try not to do that. I try to avoid doing that because you can tend to get stuck. I don't expect that move to be a big move. I expect, honestly, my goal is it's probably going to be a quick move. Try to get a quick, 50 cent to $1 and then get out, because ultimately they can turn around very quick, especially gapping up. So just based on the strategy, this 2-minute bar, red takes out green, went short. My problem here is I ended up chasing a bit, so my entry wasn't great. I shorted at 159.31. I got to the party a little late, which is the reason why I got shooken out. So I shorted about right there. There was a gap in which I was a little late, and I should have shorted. I should have been tighter with my entry. And, so short, as soon as, red takes out green, stop above the candle I got in on. And my problem here is I bailed before my stop got hit. So I had a game plan. I didn't follow it. And because of that, I ended up taking an unnecessary loss. So I ended up bailing on the trade at 159.98. So I ended up bailing on it right there. So my stop was never hit, and I bailed just because I got a little emotional. Ultimately, this thing did end up rolling over, and it hit a low of 158.70. So there was a decent downside move, and notice they happened quick because now it's starting to go into these areas of resistance. which sometimes it can tend to bounce. Not always, but just trying to use what I have in front of me to determine what it's going to do. And ultimately, it kind of held that area and then has since kind of stayed flat. But short-term move was to the downside. I had the read right. I didn't execute fully on my plan, which ultimately led to a loss. And then being that that was a loss, I think where I went wrong again is I quickly kind of jumped into the next trade, which happened to be Netflix. I think that when you're on a run and you're waking up and making money almost every single day, you tend to almost kind of expect that should continue. So when I had a first losing trade, I think I quickly jumped into Netflix when I probably should have just taken a step back. But ultimately, this is what I saw. So Netflix gap below previous day price congestion, below yesterday's close, below the 20-period moving average, and below the 200-period moving average. So my mindset was, as far as a short-term basis, I'm not holding these long-term. Short-term, there could possibly be some downside, and especially being that it showed some weakness on a 2-minute candle off the open. So 2-minute candle, decent sized red, had a green bar in between, couldn't push higher, so I shorted below that. And my stop, I stopped out at the highs. Realistically, I should have stopped out at this pivot high. If I wanted to be super tight, I probably could have kept it above the candle in which I got in on. So the thing with Netflix is I let this go a little too much. I shorted at 166.61, and I ended up bailing out of the position at 167.75. So that was just too big. I put too much of a leash on that, and because of that, I took a decent sized loss on there. And in all reality, the loss should have been, the high of that red candle was 167.06. Even the previous green candle, that pivot high, was 167.39. So there should have been a good 40 cents less of a loss on this. So, had I executed the plan in which I came up with on BABA correctly, there would have been a small win. The Netflix would have been a loser. I gave it a shot. I'm trying to just be more robotic here. It was below the 4 areas of resistance. So, go short, stop at the high, or, bring it down a bit, and it should have been a smaller loss. So that, $362 in all reality probably should have been half, around 150 to 200. So, overall, it was going to be a losing day regardless, which is, it's okay. Losing days happen. Can't expect to make money every single day. I think I got a little antsy and I took trades way too quick, because when I woke up this morning, I told myself, I don't really love anything, and I had something I had to do in the morning, so I really only had about 20 or 30 minutes to trade. So I should have probably just decided, maybe I'll just step away from the market today. It's okay to not hit buttons, but I think when you're a super active trader like myself, it's hard to do so. So just have to get better at controlling that. But overall, it's it's just one of those days. Things didn't work out, and then just showing an example on Facebook to kind of give another a chart as to exactly what I look for. So this thing gapped up above the the 4 areas of previous day price congestion, previous day close. There's the 20, there's the 200, but very quickly sold off below it. And then what did it do? Created a 3-bar play. Boom, short below green. Facebook has follow through. Here's some follow through on that. So ultimately, this is what I was, this is what I thought was going to happen on Netflix. I figured there was going to be some follow through, but very quickly got stuffed at the lows. So, but Facebook is a good example of kind of showing now, once it shows that sign of weakness, and then it is now below all of that, boom, it has some of its follow through. It's not going to work every single time. It's just trying to find the stock that shows that momentum, and then ultimately trying to get that second leg down. So I just was I was in the I was in the wrong stock, and it was crazy because Nvidia ended up having that push above it and then very quickly gave it all back, right? So I had an extremely strong sign of bullishness above some of those, above the 4 areas of support, because it gapped above them, and then very quickly gave it all back. So ideally, I would have shorted when red takes out green, stop above the bar I got in on, and then Nvidia even has another green candle in there, which it breaks below, and then has a secondary leg down. So when it comes to the basket of stocks that I like to trade, the Apple, the Nvidia, the Facebook, I'm trying to find that every single day outside of those gaps. Didn't really love the gaps today. As far as the only thing that there was an opportunity on was Target. Target gapped up on good news. I try not to fight that because every time I have, I get in trouble. But ideally, just technically on a chart, I mean, it's set up, right? The very first 2-minute candle had to move higher, and then big topping tail, closed red. Sure, there's people stuck long, and then there's a green bar in there. Short when red takes out green, stop above green bar, and then there's about a dollar move to the downside. So I did have Target on my list as far as gaps. I didn't love it, so I stayed away, but ultimately there was a play in there. So that's pretty much it. Just a recap on the day, just trying to get better every single day. I don't think I could have avoided going red today, but I definitely could have avoided going red as much as I did. That probably should have been cut in half. So that's just how it goes. Got to just deal with the L. And I know that there are some retailers reporting after the close today and tomorrow. So I have a feeling that tomorrow there will be some good setups and hopefully some good trading opportunities. So that is it for me. Hopefully your day went well and your week is going all right. And I will see you guys in the next video.